Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. We're not the only one you need. You are. We just show you how to get out of your own way. With your host, speaker, author, business coach, and consultant, David Dubé.
Hey, I want to welcome you. It's Dave Dubé here. Super excited to be able to share this stuff with you. Now, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Stitcher or somewhere as an audio, I want you to know that there's a video version of this, and it's either you can find it on YouTube or you can find it on my Facebook page. I want you to know that just in case you'd rather watch a video instead of listen to just the audio. Either way, it's Dave Dubé with Only One You Need Radio. So excited to have you here with me today. In this episode, I want to share with you a story about personal motivation. And motivation in general is a very intriguing thing. And myself, over the course of years, and earlier episodes, I teach this where talking about we find perspective in life based upon our past experiences, and depending on whether you're positive or negative in your associations with things, your life evolves around those things. And essentially the character that you become and the person that you are, it revolves around those past events and how you relate to those past events. And for me personally, what I've gone through in my life has obviously shaped who I am, my life, and also added to the motivations to what I do. Some of you know this, and I'm sure it's very, very few of you. I also own a company called Cut Medical Bills. You can find it at cutmedicalbills.com. Now, if you are from outside of the United States, you will not be able to access this website. I have blocked every country from accessing it other than the United States for several reasons. First off, we were originally when I was creating the website and putting our business together, we were getting hacked from countries all over the world. And I was like, well, this is just stupid. The only country that this is for America, for the United States of America. Why? Because, well, I'll get to that. Our medical system is pretty dang screwed up. And so I decided to call our host and make some things in the back end of it. So pretty much only the United States can access this. Now, I don't know if it's 100%, but when I was in Canada just 2 weeks ago, I tried logging into the back end of my website and I couldn't even get to my website. So there was proof that it was actually working outside of the United States as far as putting that together. But getting to the point is motivation and having internal motivation and finding internal motivation. For me, this whole thing begins in 2009. And I remember I was laying in bed, dead to the world as far as the world's concerned. I was sleeping and I heard my phone ring. You hear the light vibration. Boop. And I pick up my phone and I do the one-eye answer. And you've probably done this before where you're just like, oh, hello. And I hear her on the other end. I hear David. And it's my mother. And I say, yes, mother. She says 3 words that will forever change my life. And those 3 words are, I have cancer. Those are 3 words that no one should ever hear. And when you do hear them, they are life altering. Now, from my house to my mother's house on a good day in traffic takes me roughly 8 to 10 minutes. And that morning, from no clothing to fully clothed and at her house took me all of 8 minutes. As soon as I got off the phone, I was out. And mind you, I did put clothes on. And I remember getting to my mom's house, but even on the way there, speeding there at the speed of light almost, I was shaking. I was terrified. I was scared out of my mind. And I wanted to know what's next, because in my fear, I knew that the only way to maybe get a hold of myself was to hopefully stop shaking and to find out what the next step is. And the next step was to go see my mother's doctor. And I remember this entire process, and So my mom told me, okay, well, we're going to see the doctor the next day. And so I picked her up in the morning. We went there and found out what the next step was. For my mom, it was surgery. And then they had recommended, they're going to take some polyps out and test them to see if the cancer had spread. So I remember the surgery, like we went in the next week. I believe it was like Tuesday the next week. And they did surgery, got with my mom afterwards, met with the oncologist again, and they said, well, it's inconclusive. Like, we don't know if it had spread. But they recommended chemotherapy, radiation, and then chemotherapy. In the beginning, this was in April of 2009. And I think it went into May then, because it was towards the middle to end of April. And in talking to the doctors and talking to my mom, I said, Mom, I think the best idea is we're coming into summer. Let's do chemo during summer and not finish with chemo when it's middle of winter, because that's when most people get sick and it's just not good. So she agreed, and so that's what we did. And those of you who don't know, I have an older sister, an older brother, and then it's myself. And my older sister, she's blind and autistic, and my mom was her caregiver. And as her caregiver, my mother would do like everything for our sister, or right, for my sister, my brother's sister, for her daughter. And my sister goes to work and then comes back and has a fixed schedule. My mom also has a fixed schedule with her work in order to, complement my sister's schedule as well. And I remember I took my mom to all her appointments, and when she couldn't work with my sister, take my sister to her doctor's appointments, things like that, that's what I had to do. I did those things. And for me, that was fine. I was okay with all of that. Finally, I remember November came around, and so my mom's towards the end of her treatments, and so it was Thanksgiving, and we celebrate more or less my mom's like coming through cancer and being nearly cancer free. And it was a wonderful time. It was a time of more or less celebration. And then life went to normal, right? My mom finished her treatments and she went on to go back to work. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't find some information out that I wish I'd found out. My sister, my sister and I hang out fairly regularly. At least we did. It's funny. My sister had moved in with me not too long ago because our mother had passed away. And actually before my mom passed away, because my mom couldn't take care of her, my sister moved in. So obviously we're hanging out a lot. And then my sister asked to move into a home with people like herself, which our mother would never let her do. And since my sister had moved out, she's too busy to hang out with her brother. It's kind of funny. But I digress. Now back to the story. My sister, or rather my mother, went back to work and life seemed fairly normal. And my sister would hang out with me, about once a month she would come hang out with me, sometimes twice a month. She would spend the night since I had extra spare bedrooms in my house. And we'd have a couple beers. My sister would talk to me. My sister's high functioning when it comes to autism. So if you're thinking like, oh, that's weird, my sister's pretty high functioning and can communicate fairly well. So my sister would tell me about all the issues that she was having with our mom. And it was kind of upsetting at the time. Like, I want my sister to have the life that she wants, but when our mother can't provide it, there's questions that come up. Like, why is this the case? Why is my sister so angry at my mother? And my sister acts out, right? She doesn't always take the high road when it comes to things. As someone who's autistic is used to schedules, and when my sister would ask for something and it wouldn't be done or they wouldn't get to do it and she never got an explanation for it, my sister would act out. And that was happening quite a bit. Now, the crazy part is it wasn't until fairly recently I figured out the whole reasoning for this. But in 2000, so 4 years later, so 2010, my mom was given that clean bill of health. And in 2010, 2014, my mom received a phone call, and my mom called me up and said, hey, the oncologist called me and it's returned. The cancer's back. And I remember talking to my mom. She was so furious at this fact. My mom was so angry. I've never seen someone more angry my entire life. She was angry and sad, all compound into one, and just tears streaming and anger, like she wanted to kill something or someone. And it was tough to watch and tough to see. And after calming my mom down, she explained to me the reason why. And the reason why was, it took her 4 years, from 2010 until 2014. And the very month that she got diagnosed the second time was the very month she finished paying off her medical bills from the 4 years prior. You see, my mom was transparent with me with everything. I remember, with everything except one thing. And that one thing was this, her finances. She never shared this with me. I did not know that she had $14,000 in excess medical bills. And it took her 4 years and 1/4 roughly of her income every single month to pay off those medical bills. And it wasn't until recently that I realized why my mom and my sister were having so much issues. It literally comes down to that. My sister wanted things that my mom would normally provide her, but because the medical bills the amount of money she had to spill out to pay those medical bills each and every single month, changing and altering her life, she could not afford to do the things that her daughter, my sister, would normally do. And when my mom told me that she literally was spending that much money every single month to pay off these medical bills, and literally changing and altering how she spent her money, spending it and using credit cards, refinancing her mortgage, I didn't realize the amount of effort that went into doing all of this. And my mom blames a lot of the reason that she got cancer a second time for the stresses that she went through in order to pay off those medical bills in the first place. And it broke my heart. And thinking about it, it even breaks my heart that my mom and my sister's relationship was fairly broken, all because of the financial portion of these medical bills. You see, if you're like my mother, when you feel obligated to something, you don't question it. Your obligation is to it, and you will make it happen. You will follow through, and that's what my mom did. The other part too is it's your doctor. Your doctor says, do this, right? Your life is dependent on your doctor. And as someone who's got it's life or death with cancer, you do what your doctor says, and you don't question it. But then later on, when a medical bill shows up, here I have a bunch of medical bills. When a medical bill shows up, you look at that and you're like, are you kidding me? This is left, insurance decided not to pay this. And it broke my heart. And I remember having that conversation with my mom and telling her, I said, this will never happen to you again. I will never allow this to happen to you again. And it was my mission then from that point forward, to negotiate her medical bills and to help her make sure she never had to deal with that. And that's how the business cutmedicalbills.com was started. And right now, I'm actually in the process of relaunching Cut Medical Bills. So if this is something you yourself or someone you know of is dealing with issues like this, whether it's chronic pain, whether it's a chronic illness or a disease that you have to constantly go in to get treatment for, this works for that. If you have cancer and you have excess medical bills because of that, this works for that. If you have dental issues, dental bills, this works for that. If you have cosmetic, this works across the board. And I'm so happy and so proud to have been able to create something that enables people to negotiate their medical bills down and not to have to deal with my mom. $14,000, 1/4 of her income every single month for 4 years. And it screwed up her relationship with her daughter. I want you to think about that. Is it worth it? Is having that worth it? Is it worth it? Isn't life more valuable than that? To me, it is. To me, life is so much more valuable than any bill that you would ever get in the mail. money is something that, yes, it can be a great thing, but it can destroy lives. And I've seen it. It destroyed my mother's. I wanted my mother to focus on what was important. That's recovery, but she couldn't focus on recovery. You see, my mom had to focus on paying off these medical bills. And it was a horrible thing to watch. My mom passed away on January 18th, 2017 from cancer. It was her third diagnosis. There was nothing we could do. And it was a sad sight to see, seeing my mom literally be consumed by the cancer inside of her. Being there day in and day out at the hospital, watching her just literally slowly fade away. I remember being there the very last day. It was, my brother had called me. I was there in the morning and back home, and I was going to go the next day to see her. My brother had gone there in the evening because that's the only time he had, and he called me and said, the nurse says that we're not sure how long it's going to be, and it's probably not going to be that long. And so she could go tonight, she could go tomorrow morning. We don't know, but you might want to just come in. And so that's what I did. I grabbed my stuff, and actually my sister was at her respite home, a temporary home that she would frequent one week a month. And I called to get a hold of her. She wasn't available. So I went. And it's probably a good thing my sister wasn't there. It was a very hard sight to see. And I don't want that for anyone. Ever. And if money is an issue, and to me, it's stupid. It's not worth it. So part of my motivation is my mom. And that's why I created Cut Medical Bills. So. Anyway, the purpose of this was to talk about my personal motivation, and that happens to be a large part of it, is what my mom went through. And seeing that and experiencing it and watching the toll it takes. And since starting, I've heard so many people talk about their experiences with medical bills and how absolutely ridiculous they are. If you are someone you know that's currently dealing with excess medical bills, have them go to cutmedicalbills.com and get on the waiting list. I will be launching or relaunching Cut Medical Bills very, very soon. And if you or someone you know is interested, please get on there. I, more than anything, want to help more people be able to negotiate their medical bills down. I did this and I still do this because of my mother and for my mom. I love her with all my heart. So, with that being said, it's time that you be the person you're meant to be. Believe in all that you're capable of and become more than you thought imaginable. I look forward to catching you on the next episode. Take care.